Hello, everybody. We are back again. Another episode. Dave and I are here. We are just getting really excited with Boxer Fest coming up, and Dave's getting ready to fly out here. And yeah, it's been just a great experience. Just working with Dave and getting to meet him in person is going to be really awesome. And we hope that you guys come and say hi at our tent. We're very excited. And yeah, we got an awesome episode today. We are going to dive into the amazing world of rare Subaru parts. And I know this is a great topic because everybody gets excited about rare. And I think that being that we own the Subaru Rare Parts Facebook group as well, which I kind of got inspiration from Naziok's Rare Parts forum for this, um, I've always been fascinated with rare parts. I've always wanted to find the rarest thing I can, and I was always looking up like how hard it is to get certain things and why and how limited are they. And I think that just led me to wanting to dive in and kind of, I don't know, maybe sprinkle some breadcrumbs for everybody else out there. If you guys are maybe unaware of some rare parts that we bring up, maybe you guys will start going down the rabbit hole. Um, every brand has its unicorns. And for Subaru, the part that is so rare that everybody is after, um, it's really something that's used in racing. And that would be the WRC engines that end up on the market. Um, you know, Basically, this is the kind of thing that like you never see on an eBay auction. You never see it for sale on Naziok. Behind closed doors, these trades are made for these parts, and these are things that people want and they just can't get their hands on. Um, so the grail of Subaru parts is really getting a WRC engine or any parts from WRC cars to try to build your own race car. It's parts that are custom built for Subaru that people don't have normal access to. So basically everybody knows the 22B panels and body kits that people are after or headlights or whatever, but the X ProDrive Impreza WRC engine assembly, they were hand built by ProDrive for World Rally Championship cars in the late 1990s to 2000s. Closed deck blocks, custom internals, anti-lag rocket turbos, legal Pectel brain. They had these custom computers for these engines that were just running them, and it's like everybody would die to put one of these in their car because you would never see it again. These engines are already, you think about it, they're already 25, 20 years old. So like how many more are going to survive? Yeah, I mean, it's really a very niche market. And so I wanted to share with you, I found something in my research today. There's a website that I ran into, and let me pull this up here. Let's see. So I found a website that was for specifically WRC parts. They had a bunch of things for sale, and it was Subaru WRC, and then also there's DL Motorsport parts. So, first I'll show you this one. So this is one of the sites I found. Full range of parts to supply rally teams. It's all parts that are custom made for rally cars. And so it's really cool that you can go in here and, as I was kind of messing around looking at stuff, they have custom engine parts from WRC cars. They have diagrams of everything and what you need. There's just like such a cool amount of stuff that they have. Um, and I just thought it was so interesting. Like all of this stuff is just available. And let me see if I can pull it up here. Some of the tabs don't work, but like, dude, WRC exhaust parts, like, so I mean, some of these are like wholesalers, but but the one that I found earlier, I don't know why it came up on my phone. It's not coming up now, but it's Subaru WRC spares.com. And let me see if I can do this.
That reminds me too that um, Vermont Sports Car, they will sell vehicles, like entire vehicles that they built. I've seen that before. If you go on their website, you can actually purchase entire, rally built vehicles, not like from a production level, but like that have been, used and abused, but for
Yeah.
a respectable price and still running and still very much, has a lot of life.
Yeah. This is the website that I found. It's Subaru WRC Spares. And dude, this is like so cool. Let me show you. You go to WRC parts and they have literally like
Mm,
the custom Pro Drive lug setups.
what?
And then they have the attachments with the custom backing plates. They have the full strut systems. They have um like everything. It's just incredible what they have on here. And dude, look at this. Look at these custom Pro Drive calipers.
Just
Like
some of that's just the suspension linkages and things.
yeah, for anybody listening, like
Wow.
SubaruWRCspares.com, if you get to check this out, they have pictures of the rarest Subaru parts. They have custom e-brakes that were built for WRC,
And
handbrake
these are for sale,
assemblies.
right?
I believe these are for sale, yeah. Let me see. Just confirm that. Yeah, they have it for sale. They have a phone number you can call them. This is all the
What?
stuff that they deal in. So, like, as these cars have been broken down over the years, they are taking them, breaking the parts down, and they're selling them. So,
Oh
like,
my God.
I know,
I'm about to spend a lot of money.
it blew my mind when
Oh,
I
steering
found
U
this,
joints. Oh, what?
dude. Like, it's just incredible. Like, dude, they have wheels, Speedline. They have all of these
Oh,
custom wheels that were like on the track, custom body panels, fenders, bumpers.
the suspension is what really intrigues me, is that you could effectively build something from a suspension standpoint that is just the top of the line. No other way to say it.
Yeah. And so right here, this is it, guys. WRC engine and transmission parts. They have the whole WRC engine assembly.
What?
Insane. They sell it with the computer ready to go. And I checked the pricing and I know how much these go for. And Dave, I want you to take a guess.
I'm gonna say conservative because I don't. I wonder what the market's like. So anywhere between 5 to 8,000, maybe.
Dave, on the high end, these are $67,000. On the
Okay.
low end, these are $45,000.
Okay. So I mean, I was wondering where they were pricing this.
So I did some research. The turbo assembly alone, the ALS rocket turbo is 7 to 10,000 pounds. So that translates over to about like $8 to $9,000 on the low end for just the turbo. Just the turbo, dude. WRC
Well,
crankshafts, WRC sumps. They even have the header systems. I mean, I hope that everybody doesn't mind, but my jaw is on the floor because like these are the parts that you never see anywhere. So impossible to get. Valve assemblies. I mean, dude, like these are the people to be friends with, to be honest. I feel like WRC spares, I'm about to hit them up for a sponsorship because like I want everything that they're selling.
if we can get enough followers, we'll build a car out of these parts.
Dude,
Huh?
I'm about to start having like giveaways. It's just insane. Dude, WRC transmissions, look at that thing. Look at that transmission. That is like a NASA transmission. You might as well be working on rocket ships. I think it's crazy.
Everything's and
It's just insane. Even got the video being dyno tested on the dyno.
the suspension and the
Oh my
bracing,
gosh.
cross members,
Control arms,
prop
prop
shafts.
shafts.
Oh,
Yep.
oh,
That's cool. You got the rear diffs.
wow.
Gosh. I hope if you guys get a chance, if you ever
WRC Weldon roll cage. Go up just a little bit there. I mean, for anybody who wants it There you go.
I hope you guys that are listening go to the YouTube channel to see the visuals on this because these parts are crazy. I mean,
Oh,
c- it's just absolutely insane. And this, if you buy one of these WRC engines, this is what your engine bay will look like. The 98, the 99, the S6, the S7, S8, S9, S10, 11, S12. I mean, dude, these are just monsters.
oh
And
my
this is
goodness.
this is the thing. All of these existed, right? So like all of these engines are just being like sold
This
and
isn't a
passed
pipe
around.
dream. You could buy this and you can make this happen.
Yeah. So, now that I've taken you down this path, I mean, dude, this is like look at this. They sell short block assemblies. They got long blocks, pistons, rods, engine GT Motorsport, completely built engines.
This
It's
is
just
dangerous.
I know, I know. When I found this, I was like, I can't be on this site any longer than I need to. It's just incredible. It's just mind blowing. They have all this stuff for sale. I would love as a retirement job to just follow WRC around and buy the old, like the ones that go out and just like sell parts or whatever, like,
It seems like that's what these guys are doing.
yeah. So I just thought that that was a good place to start for this because
And lastly, where were they located? Does it say?
so it
I'm curious.
says Richmond Place, Central Ave, Lee Mill, Plymouth. I want to say it's in the UK because
Okay.
all the pricing was in pounds as well. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's in the UK.
Okay.
Um, Yeah. So if you guys ever want to check that out, there's some really cool stuff on there. I'm sure all the pictures are going to blow your mind. Like just there's so many amazing things when you go down that road. Um and yeah, so those engines like I said, the turbos they say go for between 7,500 to 10,000 pounds. And then the ECU and the loom, if you were just to get those alone, you're looking at 5 to 8,000 pounds. Um,
Well, I would
that's
imagine that's coming with the tune and everything, and you would
yeah,
want to buy that in conjunction with whatever engine you're buying.
yeah. It says the whole thing with paperwork, everything documented, shipped, 30 to 50,000 pounds or more for a single complete engine. And they're only available through specialists like Subaru WRC Spares, DL Motorsports, Roger Clark Motorsports on an exchange basis. So that's where you get kind of hung up is that if you're running in
Oh,
WRC and you build your own RC car, your WRC car, if you blow that engine up and you need one and they got one, they're gonna want your engine, like because they're gonna want to rebuild yours so that they can then sell it. So,
okay.
you know, you may have to know somebody to get one of these engines if they were for sale and you wanted it.
Well, now I wonder what some of the other parts look like. Like I said, from a suspension standpoint, to get some of the other suspension components, is that as restrictive or is that open to the general public to be able to purchase?
Yeah. I think the normal parts are open. I think that it's like the big
Yeah.
things, like the engines that are like, hey, like we're giving you something that we can never get back again. You know what
And
I
I think
mean?
some of the things they were selling, I noticed when you were scrolling through, were like oil pickups, which sure, everyone may or may not know. Subaru kind of has a notorious oil pickup issue for a number of years where they cracked and the brazing basically failed. And while obviously not a current problem in their new iterations of engines, there's a ton of aftermarket options for very affordable costs, whether it be Killer B, IAG, where you can buy these oil pickups that are properly welded and aren't going to fail and actually increase oil flow potentially, um, comparative to one of their oil pickups that very well might be, rally spec and probably welded, double welded or something. But I would argue what's the cost comparison to just buying a Killer B, which would be, in my opinion, good enough. Because famously, whenever a manufacturer offers a lifetime warranty on something, it effectively bodes well to the quality of their product. They're really banking on not having to warranty a lot in a sense. And so the fact that, Killer Bee, is able to stand behind a lifetime warranty on those pickups and kind of go, yeah, you're not going to ever break this thing. You'll break the motor before you break this thing. And they're right. You'll break a lot of other things before that oil pickup fails itself.
Yeah. And obviously cost is something that it goes out the window when you're buying rare parts. That
Sure.
because at this point, right, the price is based on how rare it is, not what it is. So I think that just the fact that if you're going to buy an oil pickup that's from a WRC car, there's probably only one on the shelf. And if you're the one who's going to be buying it, you're going to be paying for it. So I think it's one of those, like,
Sure. There's probably an
double-edged
inflated
swords.
cool factor. I would agree to.
Yeah.
Comparative to, yeah, could you get some bespoke custom control arms made by a local welder or something like that? That might be effectively cheaper cost comparison. Sure. Um, but it doesn't have that same telltale of, hey, this came off a WRC RC car, that's kind of
Yeah.
special.
Well, so I have some of the specs on these WRC engines. Um, I was gonna just kind of
Mm.
run through real quick so that you guys know if you were to get your hands on one of these engines, right, this is what you got. So they're derived from EJ20 heavily re-engineered closed deck blocks. The homologation limit was less than or equal to 2.0 liter turbo under FIA rules. So a lot of these are 2 O's or less.
Yeah.
Um, you know, custom bore stroke, FIA spec, everything. Compression ratio, 8 to 1. And then internals, crankshaft is billet steel, which we saw for sale on the website. Connecting rods are forged pro drive spec. And it says pistons are forged aluminum, ceramic coated crowns, graphite skirts, bearings, tri-metal motorsport spec custom clearances, double overhead cam, 16 valve, CNC ported, um, you know, just everything you can imagine to run, just a crazy WRC engine. The turbos are IHI or Garrett Motorsport turbos, depending on the era, because these kind of range from like 98 all the way up to like 2010. It really
Hmm.
just depends. Any lag, ALS, Pro Drive system, flamethrower style, producing 1 to 2 bar boost off throttle. So, you know, when you get down to it, the really crazy thing is that even with all the FIA restrictions and getting all these parts for these engines and making them run, they were capped at 300 base horsepower. So that engine is going to be 300 base horsepower. The torque is 350 to 370. Um, Rev limit 7,500 to 8 grand, and then power band is extremely flat and responsive. Basically, boost is on tap constantly. You touch the gas pedal, it's in boost, thing is ripping. So like that's the biggest thing in my opinion is that this is not for a street car. If you were gonna go do like rallycross or something and put one of these engines in, it would be wild. It would be one of the wildest cars at the track that day. Um, but if you're just constantly in boost and you're constantly ripping in this thing and it's made to be on a track, like you're not going to daily anything like that. I think that at that point you're really just taking it to a car show and taking it home,
Yeah.
putting it in the garage.
Or
Um,
like you said, there's definitely a lot of a specific use case market where somebody is actively engaged in a rally case where they need another Subaru engine. And yeah, I'm sure these guys have familiarity with getting a late night email or phone call that someone needs an engine overnighted.
yeah.
And that's what I'm sure they cater to.
Yeah, and not just that, but these engines in these cars, they were built to survive Finland's jumps, Monte Carlo's snow, the Acropolis rocks, all with the 300 horsepower limit. So, it's crazy that ProDrive was able to complete these and build them the way that they did because, you know, you're not really buying just any engine, right? Like you're buying history in a crate, like you're getting piece of WRC history and being able to run it and know what it felt like when they were driving these cars. Like it's really kind of incredible. And just after looking at the parts and imagining the work that would go into putting this together if you were to source everything, it just makes me think, like, you gotta be all in, and at that point, you might as well start trying to race WRC. If you have access to the parts and you can make a car that did compete, you could put up some good numbers. So, yeah, I just thought that was a really cool holy grail. These edges, well, they're just kind of incredible. And, so that on I kinda put together a list of, like, the top 5 Subaru rare parts, and that was kinda number 1, so I wanted to jump in there. Um, Number 2, I have the 22B specific OEM components, so the body panels for the wide body, the suspension, if you could get your hands on it, and, basically, if you were to get the suspension kit off of a 22B, you're looking at, like, 6 grand right off the bat. And that's just for the shocks, like, just insane. So,
I was gonna
um,
say that doesn't include everything.
yeah. So Roger Clark Motorsports, they have this listed. You can actually get, these suspension kits from there. They have, a very interesting kit that I found. I'll show you right here. So this is a kit that they have that is kinda like a 22B, obviously it's not like an original kit, but, this is like 22B suspension that they're selling, these Bilsteins with the ProDrive stickers and everything, and, yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, these right here, you're looking at almost 4,000 pounds, so it's probably gonna be like 5 to 6 grand. Really cool. And the other thing I keep finding amazing is that these companies exist. Roger Clark Motorsports in the UK, like, I would not know to come to this website to look for 22B complete suspension kits, you know what I mean? Like, what a what an interesting thing that they sell. I think it's, like,
Well, and
really
I may
incredible.
be out of line, but I'm pretty sure that Roger Clark was the first ones to offer and come up with the eccentric idler pulleys
Mhm,
for EJ motors, which is really interesting because for anyone in the group that doesn't know, when you go to time, and this is something I see probably every other day in the group, somebody showing a picture of their timing marks and asking, "Is this good?" And the reason to bring that up is there's a well-known fact that when you're doing timing on an engine that's had either one or several head uh, resurfacing jobs done where the heads have effectively been decked and machined by a millimeter or less each time, those heads effectively wind up getting closer to each other.
mm,
And what happens is your timing marks effectively wind up being slightly off. We're not talking effectively a full degree, but sometimes what we call in the industry is a half a degree. And
yeah,
it's not uncommon that when you set your crankshaft on top dead center and you look at your camshaft marks, your double lines on your exhaust sprockets, if you're on a dual overhead, won't exactly line up. On the one side, particularly on the right hand side, if you're the motor itself, or the passenger side, if you're in the United States, I had somebody make a comment about that. I said, "Oh, it's always on the driver's side," and they're like, "Well, driver's side is subjective," and I was like, "Fair point." I forgot our group crosses multiple boundaries. But here in the United States, if it's on the right hand side, that cam or those cams on the dual overheads will actually the marks will line up perfectly, but
mhm,
the driver's side will actually be off just a little bit, and it's not uncommon if you turn your crankshaft just a half a tooth more that all of a sudden the driver's side now will sequentially line up. And the one of the reasons for that is again, as those heads have gotten machined. So the eccentric idler pulleys that Roger Clark makes, and I believe IAG now offers a set as well, but I'm pretty sure Roger Clark was the first ones to market with them uh, is a set of eccentric idler pulleys that you can actually adjust. And what that does is that puts a little bit more adjustment on the belt in the right way to where it actually corrects to get your camshaft timing perfectly lined up.
hmm, interesting. Yeah, that that's wow. I think that it's little things like that that always blow my mind that I that I hear about because I feel like, it's only by knowing you that I would know that. You know what I mean? Um, but, yeah, I mean, as we dive a little bit further into the rare parts here, I wanted to go over something that I actually owned, and
Mm.
I know the person I sold them to, and he's somebody that everybody would know on Facebook if I brought his name up, but he's a rare parts collector, and I know for a fact he has probably the largest rare parts collection that exists. He has a million he just collects them, you know. And this is the Pro Drive projector headlights for the 0102 Bug Eyes.
Oh, yes.
I had the headlights and the taillights for that. They're the taillights everybody disliked because they were kinda ugly, which, to be fair, I agree with, but also, in owning that car, I thought they were cool as hell because I was like, "I will never get to hold another set of these again," and, I owned 3 or 4 Bug Eyes, and this just happened to be a car that was custom built that I bought with a buddy of mine, and we bought it specifically to part it out, and it was just something that we did at the time, and, I'm actually gonna show you a picture here. I actually have the pictures. Um, this was a really cool car that I picked up. So, this was the car.
Oh,
I saw it for sale, and I just had to go get it because the parts were all rare. It had RPM shift lighting in the car, had the custom, like, S207 wing in the back or whatever it had. It had the blue carbon fiber hood with I know you and I talked about it, but if you see here the see the hood scoop? It's
mhm.
got the little inlet right here for I guess
Yeah.
the turbo.
Yeah.
So,
Super, super rare.
everything on this car was like really incredible. And this was the back of it with the taillights. So, and the other thing is it had carbon fiber, it had the skirt in the back, it had the sides here, and then it also had like a lip on the front bumper, I believe. Or no, the lip was missing. It had the blue hood. And then it also had, if you see right here, the
Mhm.
mirrors were the small carbon fiber blue mirrors as well. So, I mean, this thing was just such a cool car. And
And you parted that out?
yeah, man. Well, at the time, I had known some people that were parting out Subarus and they were doing really well. Like their business was awesome. They were making money doing it. And that was all they did all day. And I was like, I was young at the time. I think I was like 19 or 8 or 20 or whatever. I was really into Subarus, and I was like, I could do this. I could go and buy these cars and part them out. And then as I had that thought, this one came up on the market, and I was like, I cannot pass this up. This is the car. And yeah, I remember taking the carbon fiber fenders off. It had these custom like little V vents on the side. Those were blue carbon. I sold the hood to a buddy of mine that I think still has it. Oh no, I did the thing again. Oh gosh, here we go. I sold the hood to a buddy of mine. I sold the headlights to another guy who was like a rare collector. And yeah, I mean it was just like this is something that it will become more rare as time goes on because
Mhm.
Pro Drive only made a certain amount of these and they, now there's replicas and stuff out there, but the originals are so hard to get. Can't find them. They're at least $1,000.
If you
And
could buy that now, would you keep it for
oh,
what you paid for it? Even
1,000
worse.
1,000%. And you know what's even worse, dude? You know how much I bought this car for?
I was gonna say, you'd have to tell everyone now.
I bought this car for it was between 5 and 7 grand.
Oh, I'm done. I'm outta here.
Dude, it had
Oh,
no engine, it had no trans, or no, I think it had the trans. I think it was just the engine that blew up, so it was missing the engine. And,
you could pay double that now and still be well off.
yeah, at the time, I think I just didn't know what I
My
had,
god.
and
My god.
I sold the
Ah,
parts really fast. And,
yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah,
I'm sure you made money though, but
and there was a guy in town that he had a JDM, bug eye, and he came and got some parts, and he's ultimately the person I ended up giving the whole shell to. I had parted
oh,
out
okay.
I parted out a good amount of it, and then it got to the point where I was like, now I'm just picking things out of the car because the seats were gone, the hood was gone, the trunk was gone, taillights are gone, fenders are gone, everything's gone.
Yeah.
So then at that point, I was like, well, now this thing's just filling with water and like, I got everything I needed out of it. So I was just like, whatever. But yeah, man. So I just wanted to share that because that was a really cool car that I had and I really miss it. I thought it was awesome. But in the realm of rare parts, ProDrive headlights and taillights, they are number 3. They are incredibly hard to get. Now number 4 is something I'm sure you're probably familiar with is STI triple gauge. Basically in the early 2000s JDM STI, they had often sold as a kit for the DIN pod. So it was a short run and many of them were hacked and swaps. People were just buying them and trying to make them retrofit or whatever. Um, to get a working set, it was around 800 to 1200 bucks. And basically they just fetch a ton of money because everybody wanted them. You couldn't get them. So I'm gonna show you a picture here. There we go. And so this is what it looked like.
Yep. The Defi gauges.
Yep. So I mean,
Infamous.
anybody who owns an older Subaru, you know that they make stuff like this aftermarket. The pods themselves are just plastic. They're easy to come by. The gauges are what is very nice about this. They are very cool looking, very nice working gauges, and I think that anything you get aftermarket, they'll work, but like a lot of times they look cheap. They don't look like they're quality, and they're not very rare because they were made very cheaply. So, getting this pod with these gauges is so rare that you will probably never see anybody with these.
They're
Um,
also from a generation where anybody who had even a comparable gauge from that era, probably the car's long gone and scrapped and,
yeah,
they didn't have the same, lure that I think Subaru garners in a good
yeah,
way.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, have you had any rare parts that you have purchased for any of your cars or anything that you've had to like chase down?
Particularly for any of my personal cars, the hardest things were, for our lifted Outback, trying to find particular LL Bean components because it is an LL Bean model. And so I very much so lucked out to a year or so ago finding some very, very perfect condition LL Bean cloth floor mats that are branded LL Bean and everything for the car. And aptly, I modified them against what some people might disagree with, but masked off the L Bean logo on them and then proceeded to dye the rest of the carpet black because I didn't want that tan. And
Mm,
I've converted everything over to tan as well. So I guess
yeah,
that's the one thing that's not true to the car is it does not have the LL Bean seats, which are embroidered LL Bean. But unfortunately, those were tan, and those just had to go in the life of being a mechanic shop. So tan just doesn't go very well. So that's a fun fact for anybody in the group that's looking to modify either a tan or gray interior, particularly the fabrics. You can actually buy aerosolized carpet dye, and it's not paint. I want to emphasize that. Do not go buy a can of spray paint and spray paint your carpets and your headliner. It will not come out well. I promise you. But they make specifically dye, but it happens to be in aerosol form, which is great. So definitely don't do this in the car. Probably obviously pull the headliner and carpets and stuff out. But you can dye these things and let them dry for 24 hours, and then you put them back in, and it is still nice and soft to the touch, and just dyed a different color. So if you're old school retro like the '90s and you want to dye your interior red, which I never understood why manufacturers went with red interiors. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was a weird time.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I always thought that um, the Eddie Bauers, like the Explorers and stuff, like all those custom editions, those were always so cool, and I felt like they were kinda rare too, and people liked them, so, I think that it's cool when you find special editions of stuff like that. Um,
And they rarely
yeah,
sold as many of those models. I think that was always the I
yeah,
wouldn't say the intent, but, I guess the expectation of the manufacturer and the partnership, that they had
yeah,
with an Eddie Bauer or an LL Bean was that, "Yeah, we're not gonna make a million units of these," but for the few enthusiasts of both brands, I think it coincides, and it kinda makes it kind of a premium option, and, uh, as the old saying goes in the automotive space, if you get into a vehicle and you see a blank spot on the dashboard where there should be a button, we infamously call those poverty buttons. It means you didn't have enough money to buy that option. And famously on an LL Bean, there is not a single blank spot on that vehicle anywhere on the dash.
yeah,
Everything is taken up. It has all the options, all the bells and whistles. Um, and it's just overall a nice place to be. We splurged, for anyone who's looking to do it. It's definitely worth it. Invest in some sound deadening.
yeah,
Um, that's a good pro tip for the mechanics of the group. Is it's not a myth. Just go ahead and buy some and add a little bit, and you'll be surprised how much that goes a long way. Just put a couple pieces inside the door. You don't have to get entire coverage. Some people overly worried they have to cover every square inch, and every nook and cranny.
yeah,
Certainly, the more the better, but um, yeah, you can go a little bit, and it definitely goes a long way in any vehicle, not just Subaru, but just adding some sound deadening. And I always say it makes it feel more modern because that's where modern cars kind of get their attributes is they have a lot of
mm,
built-in sound deadening, and so that's why they sound so much quieter. You compare a newer 2025 Subaru compared to a 1996, and they're very different experiences driving down the road at 80 miles an hour.
yeah. I can say when I straight pipe my Subaru, no amount of sound deadening matters. Um, if you work for the EPA, stop listening. Um, well, Dave, I wanted to talk to you about the last rare parts on the list before we jump into the WRX files. Something that has come up multiple times that I find so fascinating. Every time I see this part, it's something that in my head I can't understand how this came to be. I can't understand why this company made this decision and how this made it to market. But the Game Boy tuner by um Turbo XS.
Mm.
So, I don't know if you've ever heard of this or seen it, but this is the tuner, the boost gauge that they released Turbo XS, and it's a Game Boy. And I've seen this come up for sale one time. I saw somebody who had one. They put it up for sale in a rare parts group, and it went for a ton of money. And it was because it still worked perfectly fine. The screen was still functional. It's still plugged in. The guy was showing videos of it testing and everything. And dude, if I could get one thing, if I could get one part, if I had the money to get one part,
Would
this
be
would be it.
this?
If
Okay,
this
so
would
I think
be
there's
it.
an easier path. I hate to break it to you. I think there's an easier path to this.
Buy Game Boy.
I'm fairly confident this is not, in essence, a Game Boy anymore. It's a skin. I think what they did is they're running effectively a Raspberry Pi computer
Mm,
that is able to interpret the CAN bus signal and read, boost pressure, whatever, and display that in their own little graphic. I think there's definitely a lot of back end, and I give them applause for credit where credit's due. Um, but it's something that if you have some friends with some coding ability and soldering ability and understanding of, electronics to a certain degree, you could effectively build one of these yourself. I'm pretty confident.
Mm,
That being said, let us know down in the comments. I mean, hey, we're always trying to engage with you guys and say, let us know what you guys think if you guys could build one of these yourself. Because I think there's a handful of people out there that are very confidently could build one of these. And I don't think it would be have to be thousands of dollars either. And I wouldn't even think it's $1,000. I think, yeah, you'd have to buy, certain componentry, of course. So, um, get an old, used Game Boy that doesn't work anymore. Cause again, you're just going to kind of rip the guts out of it.
yeah.
I don't know that they're running any kind of software internally on the actual Game Boy. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong because the Game Boy might have some sort of computing capabilities to be able to do that. They just had to hack into it effectively and teach it to interpret some other respective signal. Like I would imagine they're just piggybacking effectively off the CAN bus system, which is what I always say the Cobb access port's doing. You have the
Mhm.
access port reading your boost pressure, coolant temp, all these things that just plugged into your OBD2 port. Same thing a scan tool can read. We can read everything all at once, and that's what CAN bus kind of gives you the capability to do. It is through two wires effectively. You can read 200 different parameters across an entire network, and that is pretty fantastic. I think people often want to get discouraged by the CAN bus network, but uh, I highly encourage anyone who is trying to diagnose something like that to spend some time in learning and understanding, because you'd be surprised once you understand. I always say famously, once you understand the fundamentals, it's not that complicated.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to touch on you were talking about the possibility of people making one of these Game Boys
Oh
and,
yeah.
making it function, and the so, yes. So, the whole thing is that, it would allow you to hook up a Game Boy Advance SP to your car and monitor the engine with it. Um It could do live engine data. It could display boost pressure, RPM, air fuel ratio, and more. Basic tuning interface. Drivers could adjust boost settings using the Game Boy's D-pad. Data,
So they actually incorporated the buttons. That's really
yeah.
good. That's really
Um,
good.
Data logging. Higher end kits could record throttle position, knock, injector duty, timing corrections. Um, those were all rare features at the time. And then you
I'm
could
now convinced they're not using the Game Boy software or hardware really beyond, like I said, the maybe the screen and the buttons. They're
so
running a,
this
a Raspberry Pi.
So this is what's funny is it says you could play games on it before or after monitoring car's performance.
Wait, what? No way. I have to imagine they built that in just from a again. I think they just put some ROMs on there.
The last
Um,
one is up for debate. Well, I don't know. I haven't tested that. I don't know if that's true.
I think that's
Um,
possible though, because again, if you put a Raspberry Pi computer on there, you could make the thing play Doom. You could make it play whatever you want it to. In theory, if you had the RAM and the space for it, which I mean, nowadays with micro SD cards and things like that being like a terabyte, it's kind of uh, mind-boggling how much space you can fit onto something that's the size of your thumbnail, literally.
well, you know that there's a whole entire challenge out there of things that Doom can be played on. So if you ever look it
Good
up,
point.
there's a challenge of
I gotta
people
figure it
playing.
out on my Apple Watch. That'd be great.
There's people that have figured out how to play Doom on the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. It's like a whole thing, and so it's funny that you say Doom because this would fit perfectly into that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just funny. It's funny because imagine, like, somebody's in their car with their Cobb access port, and you're in your car with your Game Boy SP, just tuning your car. Like, oh my
I won't
gosh.
lie. I did famously because I grew up in the '90s, and anyone who did probably had one of two things, if not both, like me, underglow and a PlayStation in their car, because that was just awesome. to be waiting for someone and be able to pull out a PlayStation and have a little mini screen display on my dashboard that I could fold out, and then I could actually play PlayStation in the car.
Oh my gosh. Um, so I just looked this up because I'm gonna take the time to do this offshoot because this is one of my favorite topics. But here's a couple things that Doom can be played on. It can be played within another game, The Outer Wilds. There's a computer system in the game that you can play Doom on that they figured it
Okay.
out. The iPod Classic, the big blocky one, they've
What?
oh god, here we go again. Oh god, hang on. Dude, this camera is crazy. Let me just there we go. Okay. Um so the Amazon Fire TV stick, it's been
Okay.
played on.
I believe that. iPod Classic is a mind bender.
A Samsung washing machine. I cannot with this camera, dude. I cannot with
Hey,
this
so
camera. There we go. Okay.
everyone comment down below if we should all do a GoFundMe for Patrick to get a new camera that doesn't have AI.
It's so crazy. I don't know why it keeps doing that. So, you know what? I don't know why I'm not sharing this. I should be sharing this.
Can you play it
Let's
on the Apple Watch? I'm just
see.
curious now
Oh,
because
just wait. So there it is on the Samsung washing machine.
oh my god.
Um, this is the Fire Stick, Fire Amazon Fire Stick, the iPod Classic.
Wow.
This is in Outer Wilds, the video game. It's on the dashboard.
A game in a game.
I know. Porsche 911
Okay.
on the screen.
Okay.
Parking kiosk.
What? You
This was generate tickets and destroy demons. Oh my god.
oh my god.
Your
Oh, I
camera.
definitely gotta try this.
You can play it
Your
on there.
camera.
Microwave,
Okay. That doesn't
cook
surprise me because microwaves are just getting way too smart now.
Nintendo DS, not surprising. It's a
No.
handheld. Um, Minecraft
Game in a
in
game?
mine. Oh my god. On the treadmill.
Hmm. That's actually not a bad idea.
Very interesting.
I might
Uh,
actually get on the treadmill.
oh, another ticket booth. Why are
The
these
ticket
ticket booths all
validator.
they're all playing Doom?
Wow.
On your vape, on the side of the vape.
That
All
can't be
right,
practical.
we figured it out for every Subaru person out there. You have to download Doom on your vape. iPod Mini. Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
god.
Karaoke machine. Oh boy. I don't even know how that would work. On a pregnancy test.
Wait, no. No,
No.
that's fake. That's fake.
No.
No.
Dude, I'm telling you, though, this is the challenge. People go out of their way to play Doom on the most ridiculous things.
That does not have enough pixels and graphics to do that. I think that's fake.
It
That
seems
one
like
I'm calling
outright impossibility, but it seems all the more likely thanks to one programmer. A Twitter user by the name of Foon posted a video on the platform where they were legitimately playing Doom on a pregnancy test. Of course, the display wasn't that great, but the fact that such a simple device could run a classic like Doom is quite the sight to behold. Look at that. There's a
I guess
video.
the display on some of these pregnancy tests aren't just, pregnant and not pregnant. They're like actually a multi-pixel display in a sense.
You
Wha
key on a stick and it's just a guy killing some
It's
demons.
got a little graphic of just like a baby coming in. I don't know what that
Oh, on a Honeywell thermostat.
huh. Okay, I mean, I guess anything with a display in theory,
Oh my
a
gosh,
touch
and
bar.
the MacBook Pro Touch Bar.
Oh my god. Yeah, so now we're just going with anything with a display, I guess, could
Yep,
theoretically do it.
a Nokia.
But
The
now I
game
have to question, is it just just the hardware is capable of doing it, or does the software have to be capable of doing it? Like Apple Watch, okay, it's there. All right, I'm downloading it now.
I think it might be such a small game that look at this, on a chainsaw.
Yeah, you're right. From a standpoint of like timeline, we're talking like kilobytes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
or probably a couple megabytes for the whole game.
yeah. You can play it in Sonic Mania. Still impressed fans, such as a version of the
I
game running in Sonic Mania. The mod was created during Sonic Hedge Hacking Contest 2020. Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Without an in-game mouse support, it can be quite a challenge to play Doom in the game.
Without in-game mouse support. That's very true.
Number 1 is The Elder Scrolls 3. Legendary games of all time, Elder Scrolls 3 set the stage for the franchise that dominated gaming. Although still good enough to run Doom, of course, there are a few loopholes. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So Doom can
So
just be played anywhere. I'm
so
convinced. You're
that
right.
that's what I'm saying. When you said that you could play Doom on it, I was like, yes, it could be played on a washing machine. You could play it on anything.
I wonder if I can play it on my Bluetooth speaker. It has lights on it, so I guess that means I could play Doom on it somehow.
Yeah, you can.
Apparently, based on this information I have tonight.
All right. I'm putting it out there. First person to play Doom on their access port, I'm gonna send you a prize. Whoever can figure out how to play Doom on their cob access port with those 4 buttons, I will send you a prize. It will be a very good prize. I would love to add that to the list of all the things that Doom has been played on.
At least you got full color.
Hey, it would be playable. And you have to prove that it's playing. You can't just send me a picture because you can upload
Yeah, a
a picture
screen.
on an
That's
access port.
yeah.
I need to see you pressing buttons and things happening.
Yes.
So now that we've reached the final rare part, I know we're nearing the end of this episode. I'm going to go into our WRX files, something I'm very interested in. So, for anybody who has been in Subaru for a long time, anybody who's been on the forums, anybody who has friends that has, been on the hunt for rare parts, you have to have at some point heard the name Tommy Kyra. Tommy Kyra is um just a well-known brand for a lot of parts, and they have such a legacy. And I know people that have hunted for Tommy Kyra parts their whole lives, and they've gotten wings, they've gotten custom fenders, things that were built for these cars. So I wanted to go through the history of Tommy Kyra and how all of this comes to be. In Kyoto in the late 80s, 2 names, Tomita and Kyra, joined to make Tommy Kyra. They tune, rebrand, and sometimes out-engineer the OEMs. Their Subaru chapters, short, rare, and very collectible, culminating in a 2.2-liter bug-eye that borders on myth. So, Tommy Kyra, in the origins of this story, began as Tomato Auto, evolving into a tuning house whose cars appeared in Gran Turismo and Forza, locking the brand into JDM lore. Their method: re-engineer, rebadge, and sell complete cars, Imprezas and Legacies included. Um, a later partnership ended in dispute. Unauthorized, all caps, Tommy Kyra logos linger online. So, um, there was basically some kind of dispute that happened, and uh, basically the authenticity of these parts was questioned because a lot of people were stealing the name, trying to like rebrand and sell stuff. Um, so fast forward to 1993, Tommy Kyra gets together and they decide that they are going to take a GC8, GF8, the Impreza and the Impreza wagon, and they are going to make their own version of these cars. So, anybody from the Ford aspect of things, the Black Widow F-150s. If you've ever heard of uh, what is it, Masonry? No, not Masonry. The company that like redoes Lamborghinis and stuff, Mansory. Anybody who's ever heard of these companies, they basically take cars that already exist, they bring them into their shop, they fit it with their own custom kit and tuning and everything to their spec, and then they put it back out as a new product. And so a lot of people do this. They buy these custom versions of these cars, and it's kind of like really Shelby America is one of those companies. Shelby America is not exactly a sector of Ford. they really are their own shop, and whenever Ford puts out a new product, they get involved to be able to say like, "Hey, we're gonna make our own version of this Mustang or whatever they're gonna build, and it's gonna be the Shelby edition." And so that Shelby edition becomes its own thing. It's got its own parts. It's got, and it's outside of Ford's control and outside of what Ford does. So
And
this is,
and when you get to a point like Shelby, it does become fairly sanctioned, though. You could agree, though. It's like
yes.
you put some Shelby things on there, you're not immediately avoiding your warranty per se, things like that.
So that's what I was gonna say is like these are like Shelby is a interesting one because they are working hand in hand with Ford. Whereas companies like they do the Black Widow F-150s. There's a I
Cosworth
for,
is one that comes to mind.
um
Cosworth has done Ford things, Cosworth has done Subaru
Cosworth.
things.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily affiliated with the manufacturer in the same way. They get kind of
Yeah.
an unofficial blessing, I would call it.
Yeah. I'm blanking on the name. It starts with a T, but they're the company that does all the custom Fords. Yeah, it's been a while since I worked in Ford. But anyways, um, that's the whole thing, right? Is that these companies retrofit stuff, they make their own custom editions and then they put them out. So with Tommy Kyra, they had the M20B, which was their own design. Um, they made 265 builds, and it was Tommy Kyra Aero, interior, ECU, distinctive cursive side script, with the logo Tommy Kyra. Um, Production widely cited 105 units that were specific to like the GC8s, and then the rest of them were like the GF body style. Yeah, I mean they did the same thing with the Legacy in the late 90s. They took the B4s, the 2 liters, and they tuned them to 295 versions of that, and had a 2.2 stroker that was, really a custom build that they put together. And they even went as far after that to do a Forester, and they had
Hmm.
tuned EJ packages with the FB 2.2. And again, that one was 283 versions of that. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about rare. They made 265 versions of the Impreza. For you to end up with an Impreza wing that is a Tommy Kyra edition, it is one of 265. You are in such a small like group of people that have that part.
It's gotta be
And
less than that because not all of them are still around. As
yeah,
time proves, some get, unfortunately into an accident, let's say, so they were damaged.
yeah. And so that's what I find so fascinating in these rare parts that are still out on the market is imagine collecting one of each. You would have literally a piece of history, you know? Um, the M20B, the 2.2, it was such a rare car that it went for tons of money at auction when they started selling the full cars themselves. Um, and it's super well documented that these cars that went out into the public, kind of where a lot of them went, but then a lot of the parts that got parted out, they lost all documentation. Nobody knows where they went, so people all over the place have these parts now. So the thing with Tommy Kyra now, in especially in this day and age, is what's actually rare and how to authenticate it. So if you end up with a Tommy Kyra part, um there's a few things that you can do to really make sure that they are correct. Um, Normally, there's a build number present and intact on the part. Um, the ECU and the loom labels, they normally have the specific dates on them, things of that nature. If you have the seats, the trim and the pattern is specific to Tommy Kyra, so you would be able to look up pictures and know if you are getting the right thing. Um, Correct arrow moldings, paperwork. I mean, there's a couple different ways. to kind of go down that road and confirm authentication on these parts. But I would say really like if you're going to take a chance and spend big money on one of these, you want to be just like so careful of what you're getting because I know people have had these parts for real and I've seen them in person and they're amazing. And I think that if I was on the hunt for anything, I would be going after Tommy Kyra parts. I think they're so cool. They did such a good job on the design with them. Um,
But you gotta be
and
careful nowadays online,
yeah, for
especially,
real.
people.
Um, so I actually have a picture of a Tommy Kyra Subaru that was built. I'm gonna put that up here. So right here, you can tell if you're looking at this on our YouTube channel, this is not a bug eye, not your typical bug eye. If you see the front bumper, it's got like molded rally lights for fog lights. It's got custom grill. It's got custom hood scoop, custom headlights, Tommy Kyra written on the side of it. It's got the wing, like very custom build. And this is one of the examples that they put out. Uh, it's just a really cool car. And these parts are just ridiculous to find. I had a buddy who had let me see if I can find it. The GF8, the the wagon, they had such a specific look from Tommy Kyra with the spoilers on them. Yeah, let me do this. If you guys are ever looking for Tommy Kyra parts for your GF8, so they always had kind of like a waist spoiler underneath the window, and then they had this upper piece here.
Mhm.
And this is kind of what it looked like when it was on the car. You had this like two-piece kind of setup here. And so that was what was so rare about Tommy Kyra was that they had such unique versions of these cars. You can see it written on the side here. This is a very custom build that Tommy Kyra did. Like they had their old versions of these cars that kind of look
Yeah.
like this. And they were just such a cool brand. And not just that, the cool thing is they didn't just stick to Subaru. They did versions of the R34. Um, they were messing around in other brands as well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was just such a cool design and I feel like I would have loved to be around when Tommy Cairo was making parts. I would have loved to see all the cars that they were coming out with and all the custom builds. So, that was just a really cool thing I wanted to touch on. I think that anybody who is in Subaru should know about Tommy Kyra and the history. I think that it's amazing when brands like that step into the light and they come up with just a really cool way to reimagine a car that everybody owns and make it a little bit different and get their own kind of feel for it. Um, and like I said, if you guys have ever played Gran Turismo, Tommy Kyra cars have made it into some of the games. So if you ever go back and play some of the older ones, you'll see them. They are in there. So
That's where I first remember them from.
yeah. Um, so on that note, I wanted to just kind of wrap this up by saying we love you guys. We love rare parts. Dave and I both are constantly going to be on the hunt for these WRC parts after this episode. I know it. I can feel it. Um, and yeah, we just really are excited to see you guys at Boxer Fest. We're excited to have
Definitely.
we have a very cool guest coming on next week. He was supposed to be on this week, had a scheduling mix up. He's going to be on next week, and we're going to be going over his very one of a kind custom build. He's been mentioned in magazines, he's been mentioned online, and we are going to break down his entire build and go over his whole car. So you guys are definitely going to want to stick around for that. It's a great episode. We're going to really have fun with it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed our walkthrough on rare parts, and I hope we see you on the next one.